The movie opens with a scene from 1931, depicted in grainy black and white footage. In this scene, we see a young girl standing amidst a crowd, clutching a cross in her hand, while the people around her kneel down. Fast forward to 10 years, we see a woman, Sister Narcissa, arriving at a convent. As she enters, her eyes fall upon a wall marked with bullet holes, which are the evidence of past conflict. She is then approached by Sister Julia, a nun at the convent, who explains the significance of the damaged wall. She reveals that the convent was once a refuge closed off during wartime. Despite efforts to conceal the scars with plaster, the reminders of the past linger. However, with peace restored, the parish has decided to repurpose the convent into a school for disadvantaged girls. As they come inside, Sister Narcissa is instructed to wait by the wall, while Sister Julia goes in to inform the Mother Superior of her arrival. During her wait, Sister Narcissa experiences a strange event. A marble rolls towards her seemingly out of nowhere. Bewildered, she looks around, but finds no one nearby. Eventually, Sister Narcissa is greeted by the Mother Superior, who expresses joy at her arrival with a warm welcome. Mother Superior reminisces about Sister Narcissa's role during the challenging times, recalling how she brought hope and strength to those around her, earning her the endearing nickname, the Holy Girl of Parablasco. It turns out that the little girl that we saw in the beginning was none other than Narcissa herself. Humbly, Narcissa acknowledges her past actions, admitting that she was very young at the time and barely remembers them. Then, the atmosphere shifts when Mother Superior delivers surprising news. Sister Narcissa is to take her perpetual vows within their community. This revelation catches Narcissa off guard, leaving her in a state of shock. Sister Julia then confirms that, as previously discussed, Narcissa will be assuming the responsibilities formerly held by Sister Inez, who left to care for her elderly parents. She would be teaching Spanish, literature, and natural sciences. Afterwards, they go off to eat their meal. Later, as Sister Narcissa retreats to her room, she finds a mysterious box awaiting her. Opening it, she discovers a pair of scissors, alongside a collection of letters addressed to Sister Inez. Among these items is a photograph featuring Sister Sakura. Suddenly, the chair in front of Narcissa begins to shake and eventually topples over, terrifying her. Startled by this occurrence, Narcissa hears a series of knocks at her door. Despite investigating, she finds no one outside, but notices a peculiar drawing on the wall. The following day, Narcissa seeks solace in the confession box, confessing to Father about her uncertainties, about taking the vows due to her overwhelming doubts. Father gently probes, questioning if it was the Blessed Mother who influenced her decision. Narcissa admits it was her own choice, recounting how villagers from far and wide visited her, posing questions she couldn't answer. She hoped that by distancing herself and leading a quiet life, she might find certainty upon her return. Father reassures her, emphasizing that heaven has bestowed upon her a special gift, and that she has a purpose here. He encourages her to discern this purpose through prayer and sacrifice. Narcissa's doubts persist as she questions the authenticity of her visions, wondering if she only saw what she desired, and not the Holy Mother. Father solemnly tells her that she may be lost in her uncertainties. After her heartfelt conversation with Father, Narcissa proceeds to the classroom to introduce herself. As she writes her name on the board, the class begins to make noise. Meanwhile, a quiet girl named Rosa fixates her gaze on her. The noise from the unruly children frustrates Narcissa, prompting her to scold them. When Rosa raises her hand, it becomes evident that she's in distress. She asks to be excused, and Narcissa grants her permission to leave. Soon after, Rosa's sister Elvarita also asks if she can accompany her sister, and goes out too. Later, Mother Superior invites Narcissa to view a photo album, where she shares a picture of herself on the day she was anointed as a bride of Christ. Reflecting on her journey, Mother Superior mentions that had she not chosen a life of service to God, she could have pursued a career as a dancer in a cabaret. However, divine plans had other intentions for her. Mother Superior also shows Narcissa photos of Sister Inez before stepping away momentarily. During Mother Superior's absence, Narcissa explores the album and discovers photographs of many other sisters. However, she notices an empty space within its pages, prompting curiosity and intrigue. Back in her room, Narcissa finds herself drawn to Sister Sakura's photo when the chair once again topples over. After setting it upright, she hears a knock at the door. Upon opening it, she hears someone crying, but finds no one there. Instead, she spots a marble on the floor, which mysteriously rolls away into the darkness, leaving her bewildered and scared. Mustering up her courage, Narcissa follows the marble's mysterious path into a cellar, filled with an array of old items and statues. Amidst the relics, she discovers something wrapped in cloth. Curiosity piqued, she carefully unwraps it. revealing a hand nestled within. Eager to share her discovery, she informs Mother Superior, only to face questioning from Sister Julia regarding her presence in the basement. Narcissa explains that she heard a noise and suspected one of the girls might be hiding there. After a while, she mutters that it is strange, and truthfully, she herself is uncertain about why she went there. Mother Superior interjects, suggesting that Mother Mary guided Narcissa's actions. Leaving no doubt in her mind, she reveals that the hand is believed to belong to Saint Martha, long thought lost since the war. Mother Superior reflects on the transformative impact of those past events on the convent, but with Narcissa's arrival, she sees it as nothing short of a miracle. That night, as Narcissa is going back to her room, she watches Sister Sagrario working late into the night in the kitchen. Sagrario explains that the girls have mixed up the orders, offering Narcissa a sweet to taste and instructing her to eat it all at once. Strangely, Sagrario then insists that Narcissa consume another sweet, as they are meant to be eaten in pairs. Taken aback by Sagrario's peculiar behavior, Narcissa obeys and eats the sweets. However, as she does, Sister Sagrario begins to laugh in a chilling manner. Suddenly, Narcissa feels a sensation of choking, and to her horror, 2 eyes emerge from her mouth. She vomits blood and looks up to find Sister Sagrario's eyes missing. With a gasp, she awakens. Turns out, it was a terrifying nightmare. After some time, Narcissa gets up after hearing a knock. She opens the door and 2 girls enter her room. They compliment her hair, but mention that once she becomes a nun, they will cut it, just as they did to the others. One of the girls is drawn to the drawing on the wall, but the other quickly steers her away from it, suggesting an air of secrecy or unease surrounding the image. Later, when Narcissa arrives at her classroom, she observes that only a handful of children are present, and they inform her that it's laundry day. Stepping outside, she learns from Rosa and Elvarita that the school does laundry for families who contribute money to support it. Curious, Narcissa questions Rosa about the events of the previous day in class. Rosa confesses that she was frightened when she witnessed the sister writing her name on the blackboard. However, Elvarita swiftly intervenes, redirecting the conversation. In the church, during a moment of prayer with her fellow nuns, Narcissa notices something unsettling happening to her prayer beads. They begin to melt, transforming into blood before her eyes. As she grapples with this disturbing sight, her attention is suddenly captured by a woman lying on the floor in front of her. To her shock, the woman begins to levitate in the air, all the while staring directly at Narcissa. The poor woman is terrified after realization hits her that the woman looks a copy of none other than herself. Thankfully, Sister Julia interrupts her, asking if she can oversee the final prayers for the girls that evening. After the prayers, when Narcissa enters the girls' room, she discovers them all playing music and dancing inside. Initially taken aback, she moves to turn off the radio, but the girls quickly explain that they aren't doing anything wrong. Understanding, Narcissa gently reminds them that it's very late and time for bed. In response, the girls invite her to join them in their dance, and despite her initial reluctance, Narcissa eventually yields to their persuasion and joins in the dancing. After the lively moment, she gathers them for prayer, bids them good night, and leaves the room for the girls to rest peacefully. Later that night, Rosa accompanies Anna Mary to the bathroom, where they hear strange noises. Meanwhile, back in her room, Narcissa is intentionally inflicting pain upon herself, seeking clarity and strengthening her resolve through prayer. She implores God to reveal His face to her, guiding her spiritual growth and empowering her to resist temptation. In the bathroom, a tap turns on by itself, startling Rosa. She notices a pair of scissors on the floor and picks them up just as Anna Mary exits the bathroom. Rosa moves to quickly turn off the tap. As they prepare to leave, the water in the bathtub begins to move inexplicably, causing both girls to become frightened. Rosa cautiously approaches the bathtub and notices hair emerging from the drain hole. Meanwhile, Narcissa hears voices and catches a glimpse of a nun in the mirror. All of a sudden, the chair falls down once more. Rosa retrieves the hairs from the bathtub just as Sister Julia arrives, and they hear screams coming from another room. Narcissa rushes to investigate and finds Marina in tears, with Elvarita explaining that it was some mysterious girl that has cut her hair. All of a sudden, Julia arrives, along with Rosa and Anna Mary. She pushes Rosa in and accuses her of doing the deed. She says that what she did was unforgivable. Rosa cries as she denies any involvement in the case. In return, Julia questions her about the scissors, to which Rosa insists it was the girl who emerged from the water in the bathroom. She says that she saw the girl drowning in the tub, asking for help. Hearing this, Julia slaps her right across the face and tells Narcissa to leave, as she would handle it herself. Terrified at the sister's demeanor, Narcissa returns to her room. Her eyes are filled with disappointment and concern for Rosa's well-being. Alone in her room, Narcissa carefully examines the box, running her fingers over its surface, only to find the scissors missing. She furrows her brow in confusion and concern, pondering the implications of its disappearance. The weight of the situation hangs heavily on her as she grapples with the mystery, because the scissor that she saw in Sister Julia's hand seemed eerily familiar. The following morning, under the soft early light, Narcissa makes her way to the peaceful solitude of Sister Sakura's grave. She kneels beside it, gently brushing away fallen leaves. A somber expression mars her face as she silently pays her respects to the departed nun. The solemn stillness of the graveyard surrounds her, offering a moment of reflection amidst the turmoil. Later, in the classroom, Narcissa's gaze searches the room, noticing the absence of Rosa. A pang of worry grips her heart as she wonders about Rosa's well-being. Her concern is evident in the furrow of her brow and the thoughtful crease of her lip. After the lesson concludes, Narcissa's footsteps echo softly as she makes her way down to the dimly lit basement. The air feels heavy with tension as she approaches the confined space where Rosa is held. She peers inside, her heart sinking at the terrible sight. As she calls out to her, Rosa comes near the cell doors. There, Narcissa offers her food, her eyes reflecting a mixture of compassion and determination. Rosa, however, declines the offering. Her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and resignation, she tells Narcissa that Sister Julia instructed her to fast until her conscience is clear. Narcissa's heart aches for the little girl, and she gently implores her to reveal the truth about the scissors. Yet, Rosa remains steadfast in her assertion, her words carrying a weight of truth that leaves Narcissa grappling with uncertainty. She says that she found the scissor in the washroom, and it belongs to the girl. When Narcissa asks about the girl, Rosa's demeanor grows solemn, expressing that it doesn't matter what she says. She recounts how Sister Inez, despite expressing a desire for the truth, ultimately refused to believe their accounts. Yet still, Rosa reveals that there is a spirit of a girl present here. They are not supposed to play with her or interfere with her drawings. She recounts an incident where Sister Inez attempted to dismiss the spirit's presence by drawing the final leg on a hangman game drawn on the wall. This only resulted in the girl writing the nun's name, prompting Sister Inez to leave abruptly. Intrigued by Rosa's revelation, Narcissa inquires further about what Rosa means by "write her name." Rosa explains the ominous belief that if one's name is written by the spirit, it means that they are now cursed. Later, we see Narcissa with the Mother Superior. She has come to check the fittings of the dress to be worn during her vow-taking ceremony. There, when she asks Mother Superior about what happened with Sister Inez, she understands that perhaps she has heard about the strange rumors too. She suggests that the girls may be indulging in fabricating fantasies due to too much free time. She muses on how a stricter enforcement of discipline might have been beneficial, urging Narcissa not to repeat the same mistake that Sister Inez did. Then, Mother Superior departs to summon Sister Marcella for Narcissa's measurements, leaving Narcissa alone. Shortly after, Narcissa sees the reflection of herself wearing the veil. She adjusts it, covering her face, and smiles at the reflection. However, her joy turns to horror as she realizes the veil is tightening around her neck, suffocating her. Panic sets in as she struggles to free herself, but the dress itself begins to constrict, tearing apart, and abruptly she jolts awake from her slumber, her heart racing with fear. Turns out, it was another creepy nightmare. Yet, her terror only deepens as she notices the drawing on the wall, its presence haunting her even in wakefulness. Later, in the classroom, while the class is busy in discussion, a sudden fright overtakes Rosa, prompting her to flee in distress. Before Narcissa can make sense of the chaos, Elverita directs their attention to the blackboard. To their astonishment, they see Rosa's name written on it, sending shockwaves through the room and leaving Narcissa equally stunned. After quieting down the distressed class, Narcissa approaches Rosa with empathy and belief, acknowledging her own experiences and expressing her desire to see the entity that has frightened them both. She cries, assuring Rosa of her commitment to protect her and pledging to uncover the truth behind their shared fears. Together, Narcissa and Rosa muster their courage and approach the hangman drawing. They decide to complete the drawing, their hands moving in unison as they draw the other leg of the hangman. As they finish, Narcissa scans the room, finding it empty save for themselves. With a reassuring smile, she encourages Rosa to see for herself that nothing untoward has occurred. However, their moment of calm is shattered as the chair topples over once more, sending a shiver down their spines. Rosa's eyes widen in terror as she senses a presence in the room, but when Narcissa looks around, she sees nothing and assures Rosa that they are alone. Despite Narcissa's reassurances, Rosa's fear escalates, pleading with Narcissa not to move as she insists that, She is right behind her, whispering ominous words. Confused, Narcissa turns to listen, but the room remains eerily silent to her ears. Suddenly, when Narcissa turns back to Rosa, she finds herself alone in the room. Panic seizes her heart as she realizes that Rosa has vanished without a trace. With urgency driving her, Narcissa sets out to find the poor missing child. She scours every corner of the convent in search of her. Unable to locate Rosa on her own, she asks Elverita to help and find the missing girl. Together, they rush around to look for the girl despite the mounting uncertainty and fear. She sends Elverita to go look in the kitchen. Just then, Sister Julia arrives, bringing a stern warning to Narcissa. She cautions her against placing belief in Rosa's supposed lies, warning that things will only worsen. However, Narcissa stands firm in her conviction, expressing her belief in the truth behind Rosa's claims and the unsettling occurrences that have unfolded. Sister Julia dismisses Narcissa's sincerity, accusing her of seeking attention and media coverage rather than true devotion. In spite, Sister Julia declares that perhaps what she saw was not the Holy Mother, but rather the devil himself. Narcissa exits without a word, her thoughts swirling with confusion and fear for Rosa. She arrives near Elverita, who utters alarming words that perhaps the girl has taken Rosa, much like Sister Inez before her. Refusing to give in to despair, Narcissa clings to the hope that Rosa may be hiding out of fear, compelling them to continue their search. Before they exit, a chill runs down their spine when they hear Rosa's faint whispers emanating from the confession room. Rushing to investigate, Narcissa finds the room empty. As she enters to peer through, the door abruptly slams shut behind her, trapping her inside. Elverita tries to open the door from outside, but to no avail. She then rushes off to seek help. All of a sudden, a voice belonging to the father echoes from the other side, questioning Narcissa's perception of reality. He questions whether she still thinks that it is a nightmare. The woman confirms that all this is real. She pleads for help, desperate to find Rosa amidst the darkness engulfing her. The voice accuses her of exploiting Rosa's vulnerability for her own curiosity. Determined to break free from the suffocating darkness, Narcissa's resolve is tested as a chilling, dual-toned voice pierces the silence, asserting that she doesn't always need eyes to see. Startled and unnerved, Narcissa demands to know the identity of the unseen presence, but the silence that follows only deepens her sense of foreboding and uncertainty. She tries to peer through once more, but is startled when she sees a creepy eye staring back at her. All of a sudden, Narcissa finds herself besieged by a multitude of eyes within the confession room, accompanied by grasping hands attempting to ensnare her. With a surge of adrenaline, she manages to break free from the confines of the confession box. Even after her escape, the relentless whispering continues to torment Narcissa, her senses heightened as she struggles to shake off the lingering fear. As the door of the confession room creaks open once more, a chilling sight awaits her. She sees a sight of poor Rosa, lifelessly, sending shockwaves of horror through Narcissa's trembling form. The scene then shifts to Rosa's somber wake ceremony, where Sister Julia menacingly whispers into Narcissa's ears that the trust Rosa had placed in Narcissa is now cut short. If only she had not believed in her, she would still be alive. This Julia woman is such a jerk. With a heavy heart burdened by guilt and regret, Narcissa retreats to her room. There she finds the chair toppled over. Her emotions boil over as she unleashes her anger and frustration upon this unsuspecting chair. She then packs her belongings and decides to leave, while the others are busy praying for Rosa. As Narcissa steps outside the convent, the skies darken, casting an eerie shadow over the land as a solar eclipse unfolds. There, it seems as though all the energy has been sucked out of her legs as she buckles down. Kneeling in solemn reverence, she stretches her arms towards the celestial spectacle. All this is observed by Sister Julia with a watchful eye. As Narcissa's gaze fixates on the eclipse, a subtle yet inexplicable transformation begins to manifest within her own eyes. Her pupils begin to shine and turn white. As Narcissa becomes entranced by the eclipse, Sister Julia swiftly intervenes, positioning herself protectively between Narcissa and the sun, urging her to avert her gaze. A gentle touch from Sister Julia's hand triggers Narcissa to plunge into a whirlwind of visions. In these vivid visions, Narcissa bears witness to the harrowing destruction of the convent during the war, the desecration of sacred relics, and the disturbing sight of a man engaging in inappropriate acts with a nun. The scenes unfold with chilling clarity, imprinting themselves deeply into Narcissa's consciousness. Suddenly, she returns to the present, shaken by the intensity of her experience. Sister Julia attempts to comfort her, her astonishment evident as she observes that the torch's light fails to cause any discomfort to Narcissa's eyes. Struggling to comprehend the significance of Narcissa's visions, Sister Julia listens as Narcissa shares the haunting revelations of her wartime visions. However, Sister Julia's initial shock gives way to skepticism and frustration, dismissing Narcissa's claims as demonic tricks of the mind. With a firm resolve, she demands that Narcissa leave peacefully, unwilling to entertain the unsettling truths revealed by Narcissa's visions. Undeterred, Narcissa seeks solace from Sister Sagrario, probing her about her fears. When she keeps quiet, Narcissa asks her to retrieve a cigar box from the wardrobe. Within the box lies a photograph of Sister Sakura, a poignant reminder of the convent's troubled past. With a solemn request, Narcissa asks Sister Sagrario to hand her the photograph. She touches the picture, and then mutters that it is her. It turns out that the poor woman that she saw being defiled in her vision was none other than Sister Sakura. The poor soul suffered from grave injustices, bearing a child as a result. It becomes apparent that all the nuns were complicit in this dark secret, collectively deciding to imprison the within the convent's walls for life. Recounting the tragedy makes the poor girl cry tears of blood. The bandages around her eyes are dyed red. Quickly removing the bandages, Narcissa rushes to the washroom and rinses her face with water. Suddenly, she hears faint sounds, and her senses heighten as she perceives a figure moving towards her. Turning around, she is stunned to find herself face to face with Sister Sakura. With a trembling hand, Sister Sakura extends a flower to Narcissa. As soon as Narcissa touches Sister Sakura's hand, she is once again thrust into a series of haunting visions. In these visions, she witnesses the heart-wrenching separation of Sister Sakura from her. Overwhelmed by grief and despair, Sister Sakura ends her tragic fate sealed by the same chair that Narcissa witnessed toppling over a few times. Narcissa's heart fills with righteous anger as she bears witness to Sister Sakura's agonizing ordeal. Transported back to the moment when Sister Sakura's cries for help echoed through the convent, Narcissa decides to approach the room that she was kept in and open it. On the other side, Sister Julia, who was complicit in the tragedy, witnesses Sister Sakura come alive with a chilling demonic laughter. With a gasp, she awakens from the vision and quickly puts the children to sleep. As she exits the room, she comes face to face with an angry Narcissa, who reveals the horrifying truth to Sister Julia that she has released Sister Sakura. With a sense of urgency gripping her, Sister Julia flees from the scene, leaving Narcissa behind. Time and space begin to intersect as Julia finds herself both in the past and the present, confronted by Sister Sakura and her child. On the other hand, Mother Superior is also faced with the same fate. As events escalate, Sister Julia flees in terror, seeking refuge in the classroom. There, she is horrified to discover her own name being ominously written on the blackboard, a chilling sign of impending doom. Meanwhile, Mother Superior, lying near the bloodied bathtub from the past, looks around to find the deceased. All of a sudden, Sister Sakura, consumed by despair and vengeance, pulls Mother Superior into the bathtub, resulting in her suffocation in the present timeline. On the other hand, a falling statue crushes Sister Julia, sealing her fate with a painful demise. With Sister Sakura's vengeance finally sated, Narcissa witnesses her retrieve her daughter's lifeless body from the bathtub. The scene fast forwards to the year 1991, where we see an elderly Sister Narcissa. She is called into a literature class and is now assuming the role of a literature teacher. As she is being introduced, a girl named Veronica whispers to her friend, suggesting that the nickname Sister Demise suits her better. However, despite the somber undertones, the movie ends with Sister Narcissa's gentle smile, which hints at a sense of acceptance and closure.